Hey everyone! Before we dive in, I've got a quick question for you. Where are you watching from today? Drop your city in the comments. I'd love to know. And if you're ready to uncover some truths that most men completely miss, make sure to hit that subscribe button and join our community. Because today we're talking about lustful women's secrets, how to read her body language, and trust me, you're going to want to see this. Her eyes never lie. The eyes are the most honest part of a person's body. You can fake words, smile on command, even mimic emotions, but the eyes rarely lie. When a woman is lustful or genuinely interested, her eyes will reveal it in ways most men completely overlook. This is the first alpha truth every man must understand. If you want to decode desire, you start by watching her eyes. There's a reason people say, the eyes are the windows to the soul. And in the world of attraction, that's a literal truth. The first thing to notice is eye contact. A lustful woman doesn't avoid your gaze. In fact, she will hold it longer than usual, testing your reaction. There's a subtle intensity in her stare, an almost magnetic pull that draws attention. But it's not just the duration, it's also the frequency. She will find excuses to look at you repeatedly, even in casual situations, like when she thinks you aren't noticing. These glances are intentional. They are her way of communicating desire without saying a word. Most men interpret prolonged eye contact as confidence, but when combined with other subtle signals, it's a direct reflection of attraction. Next, observe pupil dilation. This is one of the most involuntary signs of interest. When someone is aroused or intensely interested, their pupils naturally enlarge. It's a biological response that cannot be faked. Even if she tries to hide it with makeup, sunglasses, or distractions, her pupils betray her true intentions. Men who can spot this instinctively gain an advantage, because this tiny detail often reveals more than words or gestures ever could. Another key element is how she looks at you in different contexts. Does she glance away shyly when caught staring? Or does she maintain a playful, knowing look? A lustful woman often mixes vulnerability with boldness, a combination that creates tension. Her eyes may linger on your lips, your hands, or your chest, signaling not just interest but desire. It's subtle, but a trained eye will catch the cues. She might raise her eyebrows slightly when she meets your gaze, a subconscious invitation, or tilt her head in a way that exposes her neck, signaling openness and receptivity. Micro-expressions around the eyes also reveal her inner state. A brief twitch of the eyelid, a slight widening of the eyes, or a momentary sparkle can indicate excitement or anticipation. These expressions last only a fraction of a second, but they speak volumes. They are uncontrollable, honest flashes of what she truly feels. Most men miss these signals because they are too focused on what she's saying or how she looks overall. Learning to read these small, fleeting movements is what separates men who understand women's desires from those who remain blind. Finally, pay attention to her gaze during conversation. If she's lustful, her eyes will follow your movements, track your gestures, and seek connection even in a crowded room. She will look at you in a way that communicates interest without words, a silent conversation happening between the two of you. The direction of her gaze, the way she focuses on your eyes versus your mouth, and the subtle shifts when you move closer or speak in a lower tone all signal how she feels. Understanding her eyes is about observing the combination of these signals, the intensity, the dilation, the fleeting micro-expressions, and the subtle shifts in focus. When you can read her eyes, you gain an insight into her unspoken desires that most men will never experience. The power of subtle touch. Touch is one of the most primal, undeniable forms of communication between humans, and in the realm of attraction, it speaks louder than words ever could. The second alpha truth every man must understand is that a lustful woman communicates her desire through touch long before she ever says anything. The most powerful touches are never overt or aggressive. They are subtle, seemingly accidental, yet meticulously deliberate. Understanding the difference between casual contact and meaningful touch is what separates men who recognize attraction from those who remain blind. A lustful woman often initiates touch in ways that seem natural or coincidental. She may brush her hand against yours while laughing at a joke, lightly touch your arm to emphasize a point, or play with her hair in a way that brings her hand into proximity with your body. These touches are not random. They are a test, a silent probe to gauge your reaction. She watches carefully to see if you respond, if you notice, if you reciprocate. The key here is subtlety. The touch must feel organic, almost incidental, because overt gestures are obvious and can be misread. Pay attention to the duration and frequency of her touch. A fleeting brush might seem insignificant, but when it happens repeatedly, it becomes a pattern. She is consciously creating moments of physical connection, testing your comfort level, and building tension. These repeated touches are her way of breaking down barriers without needing to say a word. Men often overlook these small signals because they are trained to focus on explicit behavior rather than nuanced physical cues. But the truth is that touch is one of the most honest indicators of desire. Another aspect to notice is the areas she chooses to touch. Contact that is closer to more intimate areas of the body, such as the inner arm, shoulders, or back, carries more weight than casual touches on the hand or elbow. A lustful woman will often find ways to position herself physically so that her body naturally brushes against yours, creating a sense of closeness that feels both accidental and intentional. Even leaning in while speaking, resting her hand near yours, or letting her leg lightly touch yours under a table is a form of communication that signals attraction. The quality of her touch also matters. Light, lingering touches that convey warmth or hesitation are far more meaningful than brief, mechanical contact. There's a subtle rhythm in the way she touches, a gentle pressure that conveys her interest. Sometimes she will tease with touch, lightly tapping, grazing, or nudging, just to elicit a reaction. These touches are playful but loaded with intention, designed to create tension and intimacy without a single word. It's also crucial to notice how she responds to your touch. A lustful woman will rarely pull away abruptly. Instead, she may mirror your movements, subtly reciprocate, or allow the contact to linger. She is testing your confidence and composure, seeing if you can maintain control while the energy between you builds. The way she reacts to your touch tells you more about her interest than anything she could verbalize. Finally, understand that touch is not just physical. It's emotional and psychological. When she touches you, she is creating a bond, signaling her availability and igniting a subtle, primal connection that draws you closer. The most effective way to recognize this is to pay attention to the context, the timing, and the intent behind each contact. When you learn to read these signals accurately, you begin to understand her unspoken desires, her playful tests, and the tension she is building without needing to say a word. Open versus closed body language. Body language is the silent conversation that occurs between two people, often more revealing than words ever could. The third alpha truth every man must master is the ability to distinguish between open and closed body language, because it is the key to understanding a lustful woman's intentions. Her posture, gestures, and positioning are all subconscious indicators of attraction or disinterest, and learning to read these cues gives you insight that most men will never have. Open body language is a clear signal of receptivity and desire. When a woman is interested, her body often faces you directly. Shoulders square, chest slightly exposed, head tilted subtly toward you. All of these signs indicate she is open to connection. Even the positioning of her legs can convey interest. Legs crossed toward you, a foot pointing in your direction, or a subtle lean in your direction are all unconscious ways of signaling attraction. The key is that these signals happen naturally. They are almost impossible to fake consistently. A lustful woman may unconsciously align her body with yours, creating a sense of intimacy and connection that is physical before it becomes emotional. In contrast, closed body language reveals resistance, hesitation, or disinterest. Arms crossed over the chest, legs tightly crossed away from you, shoulders pulled back in a defensive posture. These are all barriers she places between herself and the outside world. Even subtle signs like a quick step back, touching her neck, or covering her mouth while speaking indicate she is protecting herself from emotional or physical closeness. Recognizing these cues early is critical because they show you where to adjust your approach, whether that means slowing down, giving space, or redirecting the interaction. One of the most powerful signs of a lustful woman is how she shifts between open and closed positions, often unconsciously. For example, she may start off with crossed arms or legs, but as the interaction progresses and her interest grows, those barriers begin to dissolve. She might uncross her legs, turn her torso toward you, or lean in during conversation. These subtle shifts are her body signaling a growing comfort and desire. Men who notice these changes are able to respond in kind, escalating the connection naturally without ever forcing it. Proximity is another crucial factor in body language. A lustful woman will often reduce the physical distance between you without even realizing it. She may move closer when laughing, angle her body toward you in a group setting, or subtly position herself within your personal space. Closed body language, on the other hand, often involves creating distance, whether by leaning back, turning away, or maintaining a larger personal bubble. Understanding this dynamic is critical because it allows you to gauge her interest in real time and adjust your energy accordingly. Facial expressions work in tandem with body positioning to reveal her true feelings. A soft, relaxed face paired with open body language signals comfort and desire, while tension in the jaw, tight lips, or downward gaze combined with closed posture indicates restraint. A lustful woman's micro-expressions, small smiles, fleeting eyebrow raises, or quick glances, often accompany open body language, reinforcing her interest even if she tries to mask it verbally. Another subtle but powerful indicator is how she mirrors your movements. When a woman unconsciously mimics your gestures, posture, or speech patterns, it signals alignment and receptivity. Open body language combined with mirroring behavior is one of the strongest nonverbal signs of attraction. It's her subconscious way of saying she is on the same wavelength as you, creating a bond that goes beyond words. Reading open versus closed body language requires constant observation, attention to detail, and awareness of context. It's about seeing the combination of posture, gestures, proximity, and facial expressions as a holistic picture. When you can interpret these signals accurately, you gain access to her unspoken desires and intentions, understanding not just whether she is interested, but how deeply her attraction runs. Mirroring and leaning in. Mirroring and leaning in are two of the most subtle yet powerful signals a lustful woman uses to communicate her attraction. The fourth alpha truth every man must understand is that these behaviors are almost entirely subconscious, meaning she isn't thinking about them, yet they reveal more about her interest than words ever could. When a woman mirrors your actions or leans toward you during conversation, she is creating a silent, physical connection that draws you closer, building intimacy without needing to say a single word. Mirroring is the unconscious act of copying another person's gestures, posture, or speech patterns. A lustful woman will mirror your movements naturally, matching your body language almost as if it were a reflex. If you take a sip of your drink, she may do the same shortly after. If you cross your legs or lean forward, she might mimic the motion. These are not coincidences. This subtle form of imitation is a signal of comfort and alignment. By mirroring you, she is signaling that she is on the same wavelength, creating a bond that is both psychological and emotional. Most men overlook this because it is so subtle, but once you notice it, it becomes impossible to ignore. It's one of the most direct, nonverbal cues of attraction a woman can give. Leaning in is another equally telling sign. When a woman is interested, she naturally reduces the physical space between the two of you. She might lean toward you while speaking, angle her torso in your direction, or subtly bring her face closer during conversation. This behavior is deeply rooted in human psychology. Leaning in indicates engagement, attention, and a desire for closeness. The closer she moves without breaking personal boundaries, the more interested she likely is. It's important to understand the nuance here. Leaning in is rarely aggressive or forceful. It is a gentle, inviting motion that signals curiosity and desire simultaneously. Both mirroring and leaning in work together to create a feedback loop of attraction. When you notice her leaning in, you may naturally respond by leaning slightly closer as well, which she subconsciously recognizes and reciprocates. Similarly, when she mirrors your movements, It reinforces the sense of connection and synchronization. This subtle dance of body language is incredibly powerful because it bypasses words entirely. It communicates a level of interest that is immediate, primal, and impossible to fake consistently over time. Pay close attention to the context of these signals. Mirroring and leaning in are more than just random movements. They often occur during moments of shared laughter, intimate conversation, or when she feels particularly drawn to your energy. A woman may lean in when you are telling a story that excites her, or mirror your gestures when she feels a strong emotional connection. These behaviors are most potent when combined with other cues, such as prolonged eye contact, gentle touches, and open body language. When all of these signals align, you are witnessing an unmistakable display of desire. Even small, fleeting instances of mirroring can reveal attraction. A quick adjustment of her hair after you touch your neck, a subtle copy of your hand movements, or matching your tone of voice or speech patterns. All of these are signals of subconscious engagement. The key is to observe patterns over time rather than isolated gestures. When a woman consistently mirrors you and leans in during interactions, it is a clear indicator that she is building comfort, trust, and ultimately desire. It's also crucial to recognize that these behaviors are often context-dependent and situation-sensitive. A lustful woman may mirror or lean in more in private settings, where she feels safe and uninhibited, compared to a crowded or public space. Understanding the environment and the natural flow of interaction will help you interpret these signals accurately. Mirroring and leaning in are forms of communication that transcend verbal language, tapping into instinctual, subconscious attraction. And learning to recognize them gives you access to the true intentions beneath the surface. Microexpressions and vocal cues. The final alpha truth every man must master to truly understand a lustful woman lies in microexpressions and vocal cues. These are the tiny, often fleeting signals that escape conscious control, revealing desire, excitement, and attraction in ways that words or even body language sometimes cannot. While gestures, touch, and posture are important, the subtle shifts in her face and voice provide a window into her authentic emotions. Learning to read these cues separates men who remain in the dark from those who understand exactly what a woman wants before she even says it. Microexpressions are the brief, involuntary facial movements that occur when a person feels a strong emotion. They last only a fraction of a second, but they convey a truth that is almost impossible to hide. A fleeting raise of the eyebrows, a slight flare of the nostrils, or a rapid shift in the corners of the mouth can all indicate desire. A lustful woman may smile briefly when she catches your gaze, or her eyes may widen subtly when she is particularly stimulated by the conversation or by your presence. These microexpressions happen faster than most people can consciously notice, but once you train yourself to spot them, they become a reliable roadmap to her unspoken intentions. Vocal cues are equally revealing. The tone, pitch, and rhythm of her voice often change when she is attracted to someone. A lustful woman may unconsciously soften her voice, lower her pitch slightly, or elongate certain syllables during conversation. These changes are subtle, yet they signal a subconscious attempt to draw you in and maintain your attention. Laughter is another vocal indicator. A genuine, slightly breathy or higher-pitched laugh often accompanies attraction, especially when combined with eye contact or a playful touch. Listening to these cues allows you to detect interest even when her words are neutral or casual. Context is key when observing microexpressions and vocal cues. The same facial movement or tonal shift can mean different things depending on the situation, her mood, and your interaction. For example, a quick smile paired with a fleeting glance at your lips during an intimate conversation is far more meaningful than the same smile during a casual group setting. Similarly, a change in tone or tempo while responding to something personal or flirtatious is more revealing than a neutral comment. Learning to interpret these signals accurately requires paying attention to patterns rather than isolated instances. One of the most important aspects of microexpressions is that they are often subconscious. Even a woman who is skilled at hiding her attraction verbally cannot fully control the tiny twitches of her lips, the sparkle in her eyes, or the subtle lifts of her eyebrows. These involuntary movements leak her true feelings, offering a direct line to her internal state. A trained observer can notice these signs before she ever articulates interest, giving a man a distinct advantage in understanding her desires. Vocal cues also extend to rhythm and pacing. A lustful woman may speak slightly faster when excited, or pause strategically to gauge your reaction. Her inflection may rise subtly when she is intrigued, or she may repeat certain words unconsciously to maintain engagement. These shifts are rarely deliberate. They are the natural expression of heightened emotion and subconscious attraction. By paying close attention, you can detect patterns that reveal her interest level and emotional state. Finally, micro-expressions and vocal cues often work in combination with other nonverbal signals, amplifying their meaning. Eye contact, subtle touch, leaning in, and open body language all interact with these tiny facial movements and tonal shifts to form a complete picture of desire. The strongest indicators of a lustful woman are not isolated gestures, but the consistent alignment of multiple signals, from the flash of a smile to the softening of her voice, all pointing to attraction and intent. All right, now you've got the inside scoop on the secrets of a lustful woman's body language and how to read her like very few men ever can. Remember, it's never just about one signal, it's about the combination. The way she looks at you, the subtle touches, the posture, the mirroring, and even the tiny micro-expressions and vocal cues that reveal what she's truly feeling. Pay attention, observe closely, and you'll start seeing patterns that most men completely miss. If you found this video useful, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss these kinds of insights. I also want to hear from you. Drop your city in the comments and let me know what part of this video resonated with you the most, or share your own experiences reading these signals. The more you practice observing, the better you'll get at understanding women's unspoken desires, and trust me, that knowledge is a total game changer.